in how to use it, but I didn't really put the knowledge I got to work. So my knowledge on it is a bit hazy, and that's part of the reason I'm here to sharpen the knowledge back. So basically, let me say I have like maybe 30% or 40% idea of how Gnosis should work and how to go about it, setting up accounts and signatures and so forth. But I haven't really deployed it into my crypto arsenal. So that is basically why I'm here actually.
Great, welcome. Cella Vista? And if you're not able to speak and use audio, you can give your introduction in the text channel.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome.
Hello. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, my phone kind of like froze. So I actually, just want to learn. I've heard of the Gnosis, from a while back, but I didn't really know what it was because I wasn't really into crypto as at then. But now I, want to actually just learn about it and, really don't work more on it.
Nice, very good. And Anase, we're just giving brief introductions and, any experience you may or may not have with Gnosis Safe.
Everyone. I don't have any experience now. Okay, there was a time it was posted on admin work group. So I clicked on the link, but I discovered I couldn't have access to it. So I don't really have a good experience with it. So I'll be happy to learn today. Thanks. Jam everyone.
All right, thank you. And Emmanuel?
Hello everyone. Yo, it's so good to be here. I came to learn. I don't know anything about Gnosis, multi-sig or anything, so I'm here to learn. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Welcome. And Justin?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Justin. I'm familiar with Gnosis Safe, but I've never used one or built one, so just here to listen and learn and participate.
All right, thank you. And Lots?
Oh yeah, hi, I'm Lotso. Yeah, I'm just here to learn about Gnosis. I've been reading a fair bit about it through like articles from DAO, but yeah, had no hands-on, so just feel like it's a great opportunity to just be here to learn.
Awesome, thanks. And Mr. Marvel?
Morning, folks. I was multi-ombudsman. Have been since 2, and have had to use Gnosis Safe app, short and safe. I don't see much difference. 2 of them. Possibly a lifelong learner. Age 78, still trying to learn. Happy to be here this morning. I'll just listen in. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Marvel. And Scar?
GM, everyone. I'm okay. I'm glad to be here. Just trying to get to learn more about all stuff, so okay. Also interested in this session. So thanks.
All right, thank you and welcome. And Nexialist?
Hello. Yeah, I'm new in the BanklessDAO. I come from traditional finance, working for investment banks, and the last few months I've been diving deeper into Web3 and blockchain and DeFi and all this fun stuff. So I heard about Gnosis. I know basically the idea, but I'm looking forward to have some hands-on experience and really play with it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, welcome. And Vicky?
I've read about Gnosis, but I never used it. I think last session was also Then I hope you know learn more.
All right. Well, your audio's cutting in and out a little bit, Vicky one, but we are glad to have you and get you some more experience in Gnosis. Warrior in Wales, if you'd like to give a brief introduction and any experience you may have with or without Gnosis.
GM, everyone. How's it going? Yeah, I'm Wales, and I think I'm a multi-sig sign out to not lose count. Four guilds. Yeah. Um, I have experience in this in sales actually. Um, yeah. Now as a treasurer and as a secretary to design guild and podcast artist. So I use multi sales for payout. So yeah, I'm just here to they say no knowledge is a waste. So I'm just here to catch the flow. Yeah.
Welcome. And Warrior, you want to give a quick intro? If not, that's okay. You can always leave an intro in the chat. And we have Bex. Bex, we just went through and did a quick introduction, and folks just gave a description of any experience they may or may not have with Gnosis. If you'd like to give introduction, Bex, that would be great. If not, you can always leave a message or introduction in the text channel.
Everyone. My name is Bex. From Nigeria. I think I'm like 2 weeks old on DAO, and basically I've been trying to my hands on so many things, learn how things are done on this, understand how things are being run. I'm currently a digital marketer, and I'm enjoying the experience here. So it's nice to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. I do have a Notion page that I will share again with folks. In case you missed the link. All right, so essentially, these knowledge sessions, how-to sessions, kind of serve two purposes. One purpose is, to get people the knowledge that's in the how-to session. The other purpose is that for folks who attend the workshop repeatedly, that they'll eventually be able to lead the workshop. So if you're here with some experience and you're looking for a way to get involved in Education Guild, attending this workshop and, just getting the practice of using Gnosis, you can, soon be the one giving this workshop. And let me switch to screens. So we're gonna watch. We're gonna go through a previously recorded video that's gonna hit some of the like the main points of the Gnosis safe, and then we're going to stop in parts of the video, and we're going to create a safe. Folks that are, you know, able to and want to will get added to this safe, and there's already some funds on it. So folks will get an opportunity to create a transaction to send me back my bank, and then we'll remove ourselves from the Gnosis safe. I do want to give folks the link to Gnosis. I will drop that in the chat. For folks that are able, you will want to open the app, and shortly we will tell folks how to add the Gnosis safe to their Gnosis app. And this address that I've dropped in the voice chat is the one that we'll be adding. Yes, and all this can be done using a PC and or a phone. It's usually much easier, I find, you know, to do or manage Gnosis using a PC. But that's just because I actually just don't have any wallet or crypto stuff on my phone. And of course, for those who are Mac users, it's always good to collaborate with Marvel for the experiences. All right, so let's get started. Essentially, on your Gnosis safe, when you're unconnected, it'll say welcome to Gnosis safe, and you can either create a new safe or you can add an existing safe, and anybody can add a safe. We'll just do Research Guild. You'll notice after a safe has been imported, in the top left corner is kind of like the profile of the safe. And this is the address of the safe. And if you make sure not to include the ETH part, you should be able to import this safe. You won't be able to initiate any transactions, but it's a public safe. It's on chain. And so you can see the details of the safe and the transactions. And we'll kind of go over some of that now. But you can... So essentially, Gnosis Safe is a smart contract. It's a public smart contract that anybody can create a safe. The smart contract has very minimal features, and so essentially with the safe, you know, it's very much like a wallet. It essentially just sends and receives transactions. It also essentially, I'm reading somebody's comment here. Essentially, you can, instead of having just one signer for a transaction, like with your MetaMask wallet, yeah, and we'll go over how to add the safe together in just a second. But essentially, in your MetaMask, right? It's just one person, yourself. You approve transactions and sign that approval, and then you execute transactions and sign that approval for execution. With a multi-sig, you're actually allowed to have multiple addresses that can execute transactions or initiate transactions through the safe or through the smart contract. And so essentially you can just send and receive funds out of your Gnosis safe, normal transaction. And each time you do a transaction, it requires a certain number of people to sign the transaction. And this is a setting that I'll show you. And those are called owners. When you add people to the safe, they are owners of the safe. And generally, you usually have a policy on the safe that tells you how many signers you need to sign a transaction. So if we go into the Gnosis app, we are going to switch to the Polygon network. You want to make sure that you're connected to the safe. And essentially you have this left side nav bar that is your menu for everything that you can do with your Gnosis safe. And the first thing that you want to do is add an existing safe to your Gnosis app on Polygon. The name of this safe is just called, I think, Gnosis Workshop Safe or something like that. Essentially, the safe name is something that you determine yourself. When you import a safe, you don't automatically import the name. You automatically import the address that you need, but you can name it whatever you want. Generally, everybody names the safe, the same. When they bring it in, it's from Marketing Guild Safe or Dalatianships or, Bankless Africa or whoever. And so you can add an existing safe, call it the, Gnosis Workshop Safe. And if you add that address that I dropped in the voice channel, you will actually end up importing this particular safe. So right now, I just want to check in with folks, give folks a minute to add this safe to their Gnosis. If you have any questions about how to do that, or if you're having any problems right now doing that, feel free to speak up or write in the text chat. But we'll just give folks a minute to add the safe. Yep. That looks like it. All right, and if you'd like to be added to this safe, Gnosis will automatically load the newest version. So usually it doesn't matter what version the safe is at. The website will always load the newest version. Boom. And so any Gnosis safe you can add to your app. You don't have to actually be a signer to see the safe. You can have the DAO treasury, you can have any guild, you can see the addresses of the people that are owners. For this particular safe, I don't think we have any owners yet. Oh, there are owners, which we gotta delete. But you can just write in whatever somebody's name is. You can just make it up or skip it. If you would like to be added to this safe for the purposes of the workshop, you can drop your address in the voice chat. There we go. All right, getting some addresses. So over here, now let's see, we'll go into the next part of the video while people's addresses are coming in. You can see that the default landing page for your safe, it will is your assets. And in this safe, we have 330,000 bank tokens with a USD value. We have no Ethereum. If we go to the DAO Relationships Guild, you can see that we have some USDC here. And this little side caret is what I use to kind of switch from different safes. But you can see here in our Polygon Safe on Matic, we have some funds in a 80/20 bank balancer pool, and so it shows that, you know, that LP token, and it shows the Supermatic that we use to be able to experiment with streaming funds from the multi-sig to somebody's wallet. So you have your assets in the middle, and on the left you have, you know, the name, which you have to write the name of whatever multi-sig that you import into Gnosis. It doesn't automatically import the name, so your name could be different than my name, but the address will be the same. It gives us a QR code for the smart contract, and you can prefix the smart code with ETH : and the name, or you can do it without. When you're copying and pasting stories of coins and collectibles. Oh my gosh, and they're finally showing up. So up until just recently, your Gnosis didn't do a good job on Polygon of showing your NFTs. And you look in that safe, it always shows the NFTs as an asset. So it shows the two OpenSea collectibles from Purchase Comics, and so the Polyscan or the Ether scan of whatever blockchain that you're on, it will always show the assets that are in your Gnosis safe or your app, even if it doesn't at the time show it for whatever reason. A lot of this stuff is in development. The other things on the sidebar, essentially you have your assets and you have your transactions of your assets, and it will show a history and a kind of description and the amount if it required bank and the time. One of the things, the transactions that's done frequently is the swapping of owners. You can see the details of this transaction. You swap out the old owner for the new owner. You know, there's always a transaction hash on Etherscan. You know, the time and, you know, even advanced details. There's a gas fee. The research ETH mainnet Gnosis is a 4 of 7 safe, which means it needs 4 signers out of the 7 to sign a transaction. But once 4 signers have signed a transaction, then somebody can execute the transaction and they incur a gas fee, and then they can get reimbursed for that gas fee from the grants committee. There's a form to fill out. Lastly, kind of just the other like real simple details of your Gnosis safe is that you do have an address book. So when you're sending people bank or sending banks to a specific, you know, ETH address, you can name all those people so that, you know, as you reuse the ETH address, right, it should match up with the name. We'll skip over apps for right now, but essentially when you go to Balancer or Sushi Swap, or some other app, maybe a game, and you connect your MetaMask, you're using that app. And when you're trying to connect a Gnosis safe to that app, sometimes it's easy. Sometimes there's just a couple little extra steps that you have to take to be able to do that, because natively that app is wanting to read your MetaMask. The last details about the safe is just that there is a contract version, right? It's on the ETH mainnet. There are owners associated with it, and so there's always a list of their owners, and you can edit to the right of each owner. There's buttons to edit the owner, to swap the owner, or to remove the owner. And these will initiate transactions that you have to sign, except for the edit owner, because you're just changing your name. The only policy for this safe is that there are 4 out of 7 owners needed to sign it. Okay, there you go. All right. So now that we got just a real quick like overview kind of out of the way that shows some of the like simple features of the safe, we're actually going to add some folks to the safe and go over the properties of the safe. So in the Gnosis Workshop safe, you know, we can see that we're on the Polygon network. Again, the QR code, the address of the safe, and the Etherscan links are all at the top left of the nav bar. From the home tab, we get kind of like a basic overview of our safe, and the apps that we have, you know, connected in our account. Should always have a list of the assets, and, you know, even NFTs are getting easier to view in the Gnosis safe. For the transactions tab, there's always a history and a queue. And so it's real easy to just come into your Gnosis, check the queue, and see if there's any transactions that are waiting to be signed. We can see if we go to the DAO relationship safe, you can see from the overview page that there shouldn't be any transactions in the queue. Boom, which means that yesterday, you can see in our history, we did initiate a swap owner transaction. We'll go back to the Gnosis workshop safe. You can see that we received 100 bank into the safe last night when I was preparing for the workshop. And you can see the transactions that we've done in the last workshop. This address book is in your Gnosis safe, is like your personal address book. So the addresses in the address book aren't necessarily associated with the particular safe that you're in. It's just your address book. So everybody's address book is going to look just a little bit different in their apps. Again, we'll skip over apps, but we can get back to them later. Essentially, some apps will already be listed for you, and which means that this company has basically done an integration to make it easy to connect with your multisig. However, any Web3 app you can connect your multisig to by using Wallet Connect. So if you're not familiar with Wallet Connect and you just started getting familiar with Gnosis, Wallet Connect is definitely an app that you should learn how to use. And then the main parts of the safe are found in the settings. And so in the settings is where you determine the policies of the safe and the owners. And so we are going to add a new owner. We're going to grab some addresses here. And again, you just type in the name. We're actually going to, for right now, every time you add an owner, it asks you to, if you want to change the policy. And so what this means is if this is a policy with 1 out of 7 owners, a 1 of 7 safe, that means it only takes one person to initiate a transaction on this safe. Generally, it is not a good idea to set up a safe that's a 1 of 7. For security purposes, most of the time, people have a half plus 1. So that if you have 7 multisig owners, half of that would be 3.5 owners or 3 owners. So you add 1 to the 3, that gives you 4. And so 4 out of the 7 owners are needed every time you want to do a transaction. And so we'll actually change the policy as we add some folks here. So now that we're adding another owner, we're going to actually change this to a 2 of 8 policy. And so in order for this transaction to execute, it's going to need another signature. And so any signer can initiate a transaction, which is what I've started doing. if I go to the transactions tab, woo! Oh, actually, so on the next transaction, we'll actually be required to follow. So when we add Paulito, so now that I've added the previous owner, Justin, and changed the policy, now when we go to add Paulito, you can see that any transaction now requires 2 out of the 9 owners. So now let me submit this transaction and get it initiated. There we go. And if we go to the transaction page and look in the queue, so now you can see we have an add owner transaction. We can look at the details here, and we're adding Paulito, and we have the policy is set to a 2 of 8. You can see that since I initiated the transaction, it automatically counts me as confirming and approving the transaction. And so now we're just waiting on one of our other signers to sign the transaction, and then we can execute it. So this is where Paulito or Justin or Nexialist can, sorry about my voice being low. Yeah, so if you just got added as a signer, feel free to sign the transaction. We'll add another owner. We're gonna keep it a 2 of 10. Gonna submit. Now, often what happens is, every season or every other season, there's usually an update to people's Gnosis addresses. And the most common update to a multi-sig is actually replacing or swapping out the owners. Most of the guilds, they already have their 4 of 7 multi-sig set up. So they're no longer adding people. If you remove somebody and then add somebody, that takes 2 transactions. If you just swap people, that only takes 1 transaction. So we can go here. ZFi is not in the workshop, so we're going to do a swap owner, and we're going to add Bex. Boom. You can see here that it's removing owner ZFi and adding new owner Bex. I'm prompted to sign the transaction with my MetaMask. Now, let's see if we have. Boom, boom. So we still need to, you'll notice, so let's see. Does somebody want to try swapping out? Let's see, who can we get rid of? ZFi should be gone soon. Winverse. Does anybody want to try replacing Winverse with Marble? And then we need somebody to replace Mac with Saya Vista. And if we can get somebody to initiate those transactions, then I can kind of show everybody how transactions are executed. Just like your MetaMask wallet, right? First you have to approve a transaction, and then you actually execute the transaction. And so with multi-sigs transactions, it's pretty much the same also. First, everybody has to, first you have to initiate the transaction. Somebody has to create it. After you create it, you generally post in Discord, some type of post that tags all the signers, ask, the signers to sign the transaction. And then once you get the last person to sign, they're going to have an option to also execute the transaction after they've signed it. If you are executing a transaction on Gnosis, you will be expected to cover the gas costs of that transaction. Now, for guilds that use Parcel.money app, essentially they cover our gas transactions. So it's probably worth doing a Parcel workshop here in the future. But Parcel is essentially a wrapper around your Gnosis safe that allows you to do accounting-like features. So you can manage your payouts, you can do bulk payouts, you can integrate with Coordinape, you can set up accounts or account types in Parcel. And so, like there's no QuickBooks for Web3, right? Every single guild, every single project is keeping track of their accounting by hand with spreadsheets. Some people, some guilds may be better at, automating spreadsheets than others, but there's just no QuickBooks for Web3 yet. So a lot of this is some manual work. Let's see what we got. Do we have any questions at this point while we're working on these couple transactions?
Hello, Ernest.
Hello.
Sorry, I just want to ask. I'm actually on the safe page, and I tried signing into one of the transactions, but I wasn't able to. Is that because I haven't been added as an owner? Because I can see the whole transaction, I can see all the history and everything, but it's like I'm not able to like do anything or effect any change to the safe.
That's correct. So what we need to do is, let's see. So we need to swap somebody out and replace you with them. So is there anybody that recently got added? Ooh, let's see. I got a notification. We have a swap owner. Swap out win with Saya Vista. So this is where Paulito, thank you, Paulito. He initiated the transaction. He's automatically a signer. And so now it's giving me the option to confirm or reject this transaction. If you are new to multi-sigs and you get put on a multi-sig for a guild or a project, if there is ever a transaction that you don't understand what it is, don't sign it and confirm it until you understand what it is. Weird things can happen. I've had unexplained transactions show up in my multi-sig before, and that's why there's a reject button. So definitely before you reject a transaction that guild members are telling you to sign, you want to make sure that you check it out and understand it, but never sign anything you don't understand. But so I'm going, this is a swap owner transaction. I understand it. I'm going to confirm it. And you'll see here that there's a checkbox where it asks me if I want to also execute the transaction. So we're going to say that I just don't have the gas. I want to sign the transaction, but I don't want to execute it. So I uncheck the execute box. I add my signature. And so now you can see that the transaction status has changed from needing confirmation to needs execution. And again, any of the signers can execute the transaction at this stage. Usually it's the person that initiates the transaction, or the last person to sign the transaction will go ahead and execute it. But definitely if you are initiating the transaction, you also want to be prepared to execute it. And just don't assume that it'll get executed or that all the signers will sign it. Boom, boom. So now here in just a few seconds, we should have Sea Vista added to it. Boom. You can see that our queue has cleared and that we have our transactions now in the history. One of the things to pay attention to, you'll notice that every transaction has what's called a nonce number. And what this essentially means is that the transactions in the multi-sig have to be done in order, just like your wallet. And so weird things can happen if you do too many transactions at a time. But if you ever have to delete or stop a transaction, the nonce number becomes important, because you always have to clear the transactions with the next nonce number before other transactions. So it's just important to know that there is an order to transactions, that this number on the left hand side is the number that's used to determine the order of transactions that get executed. But now we need to try sending some bank. So who would like to try, for any of the new folks that got added, you can go to new transaction. You can go to send funds, and I'll drop my Gnosis address or my wallet address in the chat. And anybody that wants to try sending a transaction can initiate a transaction to send me back like 10 bank. And if you'd like to attempt to initiate that transaction, now would be a good time to do so. And then we'll get those processed. The other transaction that you can do, if you want to try a transaction, is to remove yourself as a signer. So that's another transaction if people would like to try it out. You just go to remove owner and follow the steps to remove yourself. We'll see we got a notification that somebody did a transaction. So you can see, right? So history is the last transaction was nonce 13. So the next transaction is going to be nonce 14. Boom, somebody already signed and executed that transaction. So we can look in the details of the transactions to see that Nexialus initiated the transaction, Justin signed and confirmed and executed that transaction. Most of the advanced details I can't say I've ever used before, but the transaction hash, it's worth, especially if you're in TradeFi. So one of the big skills that TradeFi, or Web2, traditional finance folks can, I guess, have to adapt to is essentially if you're in TradeFi, you need to understand how to use Etherscan and you need to understand how to use Gnosis Safe. Gnosis Safe is just a way to collaboratively share assets without giving ownership to people. And then Etherscan is a way to see what happens on the blockchain. Every blockchain has their own or multiple different types of blockchain scanners. And so you can see in Etherscan, if we copy our address, so this is where, again, I pointed out, I have it set to where it always shows, when I copy and paste, it'll always have this prefix, but I don't include the prefix in the search. But you can see here, if I run a search on the Gnosis Safe, on this contract, we can see the balance. We can see everything that's in the safe, including NFTs if there were some. We can see the contract creator, and we can see the transactions of the address, 46 days since the last Gnosis workshop. We can see some internal transactions. We connected to SushiSwap. You can see details about the ERC20 tokens in the transactions, contract details. Sometimes if you see a weird transaction pop up, or you don't understand the transaction that you're being asked to sign, you can always take the transaction hash, actually use the link that they provide, and then we can look into this particular transaction. A lot of this, I don't understand what it says or what it means. I'm going to be doing a Etherscan workshop soon. But it's always good to just check out Etherscan to see what you can understand. We can see that this transaction in the Gnosis safe came from this address. We could potentially, look at this address to see if there was like weird activity, or if, understanding who it was from might help us understand what the actual transaction was. So these are really two tools that I feel are like kind of essential for anybody that's getting into Web3. You need to understand how to store your funds and to share resources. And then you also need to be able to kind of like look deeper into the transactions. Any questions? We are at the top of the hour. If some folks want to try some transactions, we can do some remove owners. But this is, basic little Gnosis overview. I do recommend to folks that you find a buddy, somebody that you can work with, and just set up a Gnosis safe for the two of you to play around with. Again, you can connect Gnosis safe to other apps. So putting some funds in a Gnosis safe with someone you know and trust, and then getting into like a balancer pool or sushi pool is a lot of fun. But you can see here, if with the apps, for the ones already listed, it just opens up the app right inside the Gnosis safe. Any questions? Any weird Gnosis experiences that anybody would like to share?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to have other roles than owner? I think there's only one role, owner, and that's it, right?
Yep. It's a very simple smart contract. There's very limited things you can do. You can literally just, there's a policy, an owner policy, and then you can send and receive funds.
I see.
Yep. Other features get added on, through other applications in the space. I'll share a link to parcel.money. It's really justifies its own kind of workshop. It's the main tool that we use, as to essentially manage our Gnosis safe. They're always adding like accounting like features to their app. So it helps like do payments, and especially mass payments or lots of payments at the same time, much easier than just doing it in Gnosis. And for whatever reason, Parcel.money has agreed to pay our gas fees for using their app on the ETH mainnet. Just the ETH mainnet. Parcel is on Polygon, but I don't believe anybody in the DAO gets their gas fees covered on Polygon by a third party.
I see.
Any other questions?
Ernest, sorry.
Yep.
I have one.
Mhm.
Sorry to take you back, but I tried logging on. I don't. Did you ask us to click on add an existing save or create an existing save? I was able to get the address from the transactions from Bankless research, but it worked for it. I was able to see the signers, but I couldn't do any other thing, and it didn't show the things that it showed on your screen by the left. So I don't know whether I didn't get something right.
Is there any way? Are you on a phone or a PC?
I'm on a PC.
Is there any way you can show your screen?
Okay. Um, but can you see my screen now?
Yep. I see Discord.
Okay. So let me go there. So I was able to. I opened up. I added my. I don't know if you asked us to do that. I added my address.
Yep. So do you see that little caret on the left-hand side next to where it says welcome? That little side
Left.
to the
Okay.
that little side.
This.
Yeah.
This. Okay.
Yep. So that safe. So if you want to add a safe, this is where you would do it. And you currently have. Are you a signer on that safe?
No, I added the one for.
Can I just interrupt for a bit?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because there seems to be people leaving. So, guys, for those who are here and what do you call it? Could you please help fill in a feedback form that I put on the water cooler chat? So help us to let us know what you think about this session. Also, there is a POAP available. And for those who are here, the next session of the how-to is going to be on Thursday, and it will be about Collab Land. All right? Just popping it in there, Ernest. Thanks. Go ahead.
Yep.
Right,
If you gotta go, feel free to bounce. I'm gonna stick around and answer just help Anna say here and answer any other questions that folks may have.
Sorry, may I ask a question, please?
Yeah, let me just help with Anna say real quick. So,
all right,
she's added the Gnosis workshop safe, and then what was your question, Anna say?
I didn't know how to get to this, but you showed me.
Okay.
Because I couldn't see all this before.
Oh, yep. Yeah, that little tricky, that caret, that little tiny sideways caret is what pops out the nav bar on the side. And so now, if you go down, let's see, I guess you didn't get added to that safe.
Was this the address we're using?
Oh, actually, you should be on that safe. Yeah, so if you scroll down a little bit on the nav bar, you should be able to go to settings. Yeah, click on settings and scroll down again. Or on the left nav bar, you'll see that there's options that opened up underneath it. There you go. So here you can change the safe name. So you would put like Gnosis Workshop.
That's under safe details.
Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's safe details. And this is where you just want to put like Gnosis Workshop.
Okay.
so that you have a title for the safe, and you can save that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
battery's low. Sorry.
No, totally fine. But yeah, so now you should be able to work in that safe a little bit. And if you'd like to, get some practice and do a few transactions, we can kind of have a discussion in DMs, and I can help you through that. But essentially, we need to remove, um, anybody that's not me or you. You can kind of remove or try removing if you want. Um, but I know your battery's getting low. There we go. Was there any other questions? Somebody else had a question?
Oh yes, I have a question.
Thanks, Ernest. I'm on my phone now. If there's anything, I'll send you a message. Thanks.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
The thing is, on the settings page for owners, I noticed while looking at your screen, the names of the owners were like at the side, but when I open mine, I don't see the names there. Do I have to like input the names manually, or it's supposed to like be there automatically since it's linked to um their accounts? For example, you mentioned my name, even though when I was looking at the screen or when I was watching your screen, I didn't see my name, on the owner's address.
Yeah, it won't automatically. So it only keeps track of the addresses. And let's see. Basically, I just knew your name and address because it was in the chat. But yeah, it's up to each person. The name, right? The smart contract doesn't keep track of your name, right? Like that's the whole point of like blockchain stuff is that you only should keep track of the amount of information that you need to do the transaction. You shouldn't add additional information. So when we add people's names to people's contract addresses, we have to input that name ourselves.
Okay, I understand now. Thank you very much.
Yep. And usually what will happen is, especially if you're in a guild or something like that, like they'll let you know, like these are the signers, on the multi-sig. So it's easy for you to put those names in. Now, Parcel does something interesting. Parcel can actually read any .eth domain associated with your wallet address. So my .eth domain automatically shows up as my name in parcel.money because it's reading that. But by default, the Parcel doesn't know my non-eth name, and if I want to add a name that's different than my .eth domain, again, that's something that I have to put in and associate manually. So you are seeing features come out where the name of the address is the .eth domain. But in general, the blockchain doesn't track, right, that kind of information. That's always something added, um, by the banks and your governments. They want to know everybody's name.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right. Yeah, so please fill out the feedback form. I was trying something new with the pre-recorded video. So there's definitely a little bit of work there that I need to improve on, I think, in the video. The idea is for those that are interested in, sometime in the future in teaching this course, that, essentially the materials should be there for you, and, there should be a video to help guide you if you need it. But for the most part, we're wanting to teach people enough so that, now hopefully you can either come back to the Notion page for this workshop and find any additional materials or content you may need, or, if you need a refresher, you should be able to go back through and play the video. The main thing for folks that are new to Gnosis is just find a buddy and do it on a layer 2 where you don't incur hardly any gas fees, and just play with it. In some of the guilds in the DAO are very inviting to new people and help onboard new people to Gnosis, through the administration stuff of the guild. Some guilds are very tight with how they give and elect signers to their multi-sigs. So each guild is a little different, but every guild, every project needs somebody that understands Gnosis. And the main skill that's lacking in the majority of Gnosis signers is that they don't have a quick response time to signing transactions. And that can create all kinds of administrative hiccups. But if you want to be a good signer, you know when to expect transactions, so that you know when to sign transactions so that they can happen quickly. Folks shouldn't have to wait like 2 weeks for, payouts and things. Yep. And the other thing is too, my belief is the first thing that people should do in Web3 is make it as easy as possible for other people to give you crypto. And all the guilds have an ETH, and most projects have an ETH multi-sig. That's just on the ETH mainnet. You need multi-sigs on Polygon, and unless you have a multi-sig on Avalanche, people can't pay you from the Avalanche blockchain. If you don't have a multi-sig on Celo, or whatever other blockchain you're using, you can't get funds from that. So starting to see this happen already is that guilds are now managing not just one multi-sig, but sometimes 2 or 3 or more different multi-sigs. And so there's lots of room for folks who can understand Gnosis, who can understand Etherscan a little bit, and who can check in on guild administration stuff, a couple times a week. So thanks for everybody that showed up. Feel free to, attend this workshop again in the future. If, we can also start getting into how to connect the different apps to Gnosis, and we can get into the parcel.money app as well. So please feel free to come back, and thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Ernest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ernest. Everyone, do have a nice day.
Yeah. Thank you.
See you guys.